Somewhere on the coast of the Holy Land, around 800 years ago, a prisoner digs a trench under the burning sun. His hands are bleeding. Chains rub his ankles raw. His captors, Crusader soldiers, see just another slave. They have no idea who they've caught. This starving man in chains is a scholar, a poet, and one day, words from his pen will travel further than any army ever marched. Today, 8 centuries later, his verse about human dignity is displayed at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and an American president has quoted him to the world. How does a man go from chains to the conscience of humanity? This is the story of Saadi of Shiraz, and the wisdom he paid for with his own suffering. Saadi was born around the year 1210, in the beautiful city of Shiraz, in Persia, today's Iran. And his timing could not have been worse. He lost his father while still a boy, a wound he never forgot. All his life, his writings show special tenderness for orphans. And as he grew up, terrifying news began arriving from the east. A storm was coming that would change the world, the Mongol armies of Genghis Khan. City after city, burned. Entire populations, wiped out. Refugees flooded the roads with one message: nowhere is safe. Imagine being a young man, watching your civilization collapse in real time. Some people freeze. Some flee. Saadi did something braver. He decided that if the world was burning, he would go out into it and learn everything it had to teach. Young Saadi left home and traveled to the greatest center of learning on earth at that time, Baghdad. There he studied at the famous Nizamiya, one of the world's leading colleges, where the best minds taught law, literature, and philosophy. Picture a modern student winning a place at a top world university. That was Saadi in Baghdad. He mastered language. He absorbed the wisdom of scholars and mystics. But something bothered him. Books told him what men had thought. They couldn't show him how people actually lived, how they suffered, cheated, loved, forgave. And so Saadi made a decision that would define his entire life. He closed the books and opened the road. What followed was one of the longest journeys of any writer in history. By his own account, Saadi spent roughly 30 years wandering, one of the great journeys of the medieval world. From Syria to Arabia, through markets, mosques, deserts and ports, he traveled as a dervish, a poor spiritual wanderer with almost nothing but his questions. And here's what made him different. From every other scholar, he talked to everyone, kings and beggars, merchants and thieves, preachers and prisoners. He watched how a man behaves when he's rich, and what happens to his principles when he's hungry. Other writers studied books. Saadi studied people. Every story he later wrote was carried home from these roads like treasure. But the road doesn't hand out wisdom for free. It was about to charge Saadi the highest price of his life. In his most famous personal story, Saadi tells us what happened next. During his travels near the Holy Land, where Crusader armies and Muslim forces had been fighting for generations, he was captured. The scholar of Baghdad, the seeker of wisdom, was put in chains and forced into hard labor, digging trenches for a Crusader fortress. Day after day. Blistered hands. Humiliation. Then one day, a merchant who knew him passed by, took pity, and paid gold to set him free. A miracle, with a twist. Saadi tells us, with his typical humor, that the merchant then married him to his daughter, who made his life so miserable that he joked his new marriage was harder than his old chains. And hidden inside that joke is pure Saadi. He learned to turn even his deepest pain into a story that teaches. After 3 decades, an aging Saadi finally walked back through the gates of Shiraz and found something almost miraculous. While the Mongols were destroying city after city, The ruler of Shiraz had made a painful, clever choice. He paid tribute to the invaders. He bowed, so his people wouldn't burn. And so Shiraz stood, an island of gardens and poetry in an ocean of destruction. The very same era, Baghdad, the city of Saadi's student years, the jewel of civilization, was destroyed by the Mongols, its libraries dumped into the river. Saadi grieved for it in his verses. And then he sat down in peaceful Shiraz, an old traveler with a lifetime of stories, and did the thing he was born to do. In just 2 years, he wrote 2 books that would outlive every empire around him. First came the Bustan, the Orchard, a book of poetry about justice, generosity, humility, and love. 1 year later came his masterpiece, the Gulistan, the Rose Garden. And here's why the Gulistan impressed the world. It's not heavy philosophy. It's short, funny, sharp little stories about kings and slaves, liars and saints, misers and fools, each one ending with a lesson that hits you like a friendly slap. For centuries, children across Persia, India, and Central Asia learned to read using this book. Its lines became proverbs that millions repeat today, without even knowing who wrote them. Saadi did something almost no wise man manages. He made wisdom entertaining. So let's do what readers have done for 750 years. Let's open the Rose Garden and pick 3 of its most unforgettable stories. The very first story of the Gulistan goes like this. A king ordered a captured prisoner to be executed. The desperate man, knowing he was finished, began cursing the king in his own language. The king didn't understand and asked his ministers, "What is he saying?" A kind-hearted minister replied, "Your Majesty, he is quoting scripture about the greatness of those who forgive." The king, moved, spared his life. But a second minister, jealous, said, "We must not lie to the king. He was cursing you." The king frowned and replied with words the world never forgot. His lie was more beautiful than your truth, because his lie carried mercy, and your truth carried poison. Saadi's lesson is razor-sharp. Before you speak, ask not only, "Is it true?" Ask, "What will it do?" The second story is only a few lines long, and it may be the most quoted thing Saadi ever wrote. He tells it about himself. Once he says, he was so poor he couldn't afford shoes. He walked barefoot on burning ground, feeling sorry for himself, bitter at the heavens, asking, "Why me?" In that dark mood, he entered the great mosque of Kufa, and there he saw a man who had no feet. And Saadi writes that in that instant, everything changed. He fell to his knees and gave thanks for his bare feet. 800 years later, this tiny story still travels the world in 1,000 versions. I complained I had no shoes, until I met a man who had no feet. Gratitude, Saadi teaches, doesn't come from getting more. It comes from truly seeing what you already have. Story 3. A master of wrestling knew 360 moves, and took on a talented young student. He taught the boy generously 359 techniques. One, just one, he kept to himself. Years passed. The student grew strong, famous, and arrogant. He boasted before the king, "My master is only above me out of respect for his age. I can defeat him." The king ordered a public match. The young man charged in like a storm, and the old master used the one move he had never taught, lifting the student and slamming him to the ground before the whole court. When asked why he had held one secret back, the master smiled. For precisely this day. Saadi's warning has protected people for centuries. Be generous with everyone, but never hand your whole life's leverage to someone whose loyalty time has not yet tested. Now one. From his other book, The Bustan, The Orchard. Saadi tells of a single raindrop falling from a cloud. Looking down, it saw the vast ocean beneath, and felt ashamed. "Who am I?" the raindrop whispered. "Compared to this mighty sea, I am nothing." But because of that humility, the story goes, the sea welcomed it. An oyster sheltered it, and the drop, in time, became a precious pearl. Saadi's point is beautifully simple. The drop rose because it bowed. Arrogance closes every door. Humility opens even the ocean. Look around your own life. The truly great people you've met are almost never the loudest in the room. Saadi saw the same thing 800 years ago in kings and beggars alike. Real greatness whispers. Emptiness shouts. And that brings us to his greatest words of all. Of everything Saadi wrote, one short verse rose above the rest. In simple words, it says this: all human beings are like parts of one body, created from one essence. When one part is in pain, the others cannot remain at ease. And if you feel nothing for the suffering of others, you don't deserve to be called human. 800 years before the world spoke of universal human rights, a Persian poet had already written their heartbeat. Today, a magnificent Persian carpet bearing this very poem hangs at the United Nations headquarters in New York, a gift reminding every diplomat who passes it what their real job is. And in 2009, President Barack Obama quoted these lines to the world in his message to the Iranian people. A wandering dervish, once sold out of chains, became the voice of all humanity. Saadi lived to a great old age and died in his beloved Shiraz, around 1291. His tomb stands there today, surrounded by gardens, visited every day by people who still recite his lines by heart. He once wrote that he created the rose garden so that its roses would never wilt. A garden of paper that outlives every spring. He was right. Empires that terrorized his world are dust. ISO, here is Saadi's lesson to you. Today, you will meet someone who is struggling, a stranger, a colleague, maybe someone you dislike. Remember the one body. Their pain is a signal sent to you. Answer it. If this story moved you, subscribe, because next week, we meet the most famous Persian of all, Rumi, the man who turned unbearable grief into the world's most beloved poetry.